Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on After GMS. It is Thursday, October 6th. I'm Tracy McCain here with Christian Morgan and Megan Malaris. It's Thursday.
Friday.
Yes. I feel like I've been waiting for Friday since Sunday night.
Since last Friday.
Seriously.
Funny how that works. It sneaks up on you.
Seriously.
Monday always comes around so fast, but Friday takes so long to get here.
It does.
Right. And there's probably a scientific reason for that, you know, the days in between, blah, 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 blah.
Hogwash.
Well, it's especially long when the forecast feels like it's constantly on this roller coaster,
Yeah.
up, down. One day it's spring, one day it's fall, one day it feels like winter in the morning, and then summer in the afternoons.
And this Friday will be a whole lot different than last Friday.
Thank goodness.
And in fact, over the last 7 days, we've been slowly climbing up this little staircase here as far as our temperatures go. Take a look at the last 7 days here. Last Friday, remember, cool air was already locked in place. We had rain from Ian moving in. We never came out of the 50s last Friday. Ever since then, we've been on this gradual warm up by a few degrees each day until now we're back in the mid 70s. Today, we're even close to 80 degrees by tomorrow. Area of low pressure still spinning off the coast to our northeast. That is still the ghost of Ian. It will not go away. It will not leave, but it is finally moving away from us as high pressure takes more control of our weather, shifting to the south and eventually offshore. Heading into tomorrow allows us to warm back up a bit, but just ahead of that cold front that will approach going into tomorrow. Not a lot of moisture with this front, so we only see a few extra clouds for your Friday that could linger into Saturday morning, but no rain associated with this cold front. You will also notice the breeze picking up a bit tomorrow as well. And of course, that breeze, northwesterly wind and breeze by Saturday morning will bring in that cooler, chilly fall air yet again. So for today, after a cool start this morning, we'll warm up pretty quickly, mid 70s this afternoon, but all sunshine all the time. I expect all of us to top out around 76 degrees in the Triad today, low to mid 70s. If you go back to the western counties, the higher elevations, the foothills, they likely see low to mid 70s for today. Weekend, it's never too early to talk about that, right? But it will be a big change from this week. Low to mid 60s only for Saturday afternoon, around 40 Sunday morning with upper 60s by Sunday afternoon, and that kind of temperature will hold as we go into a new week. Meanwhile, down in the tropics, two areas the National Hurricane Center is keeping an eye on just off the coast of Africa is Tropical Depression 12, about to fizzle out. It will be short-lived, not a concern for anybody at all. Meanwhile, another disturbance in the Caribbean Sea eventually will approach Mexico late next week. Could become our next tropical depression and storm, but is not a concern for the U.S. mainland or the Carolinas. If any of that changes, of course, we'll let you know. Beautiful weather continues here in the Piedmont, though, for the next 7 days with no rain that I see, at least in the 7-day forecast for now. We're near 80 tomorrow with a big change. Chilly fall air is back by Saturday. That kind of weather will continue heading into next week. Well, and of course, with the cool fall weather, you might have spotted something a light like this if you've been in the mountains over the past couple days, or maybe even some fall color peeping out in the Piedmont. It is starting to be that time of the year. Love this picture from Nate Edward sent to us yesterday. That's out over the Ocala Lake, so in the High Point area. Actually surprised me when I saw that. A little more colorful than I thought it would be. And this up around Grandfather Mountain along the Blue Ridge Parkway earlier this week from Jill Cash and Blue Ridge Mountain Vacations, always sending pictures our way. So you're starting to see the real change, especially in the higher elevations. And not to say there aren't some trees with some color here in the Piedmont, but it is mostly confined to the mountains right now. You know, I was in the mountains over the weekend, ladies, and I would say there's moderate color in the Boom, Blowing Rock, typical spots, you know, typical popular spots. Grandfather Mountain also, of course, seeing some color. The higher elevations like Mount Mitchell, you know, the tip tops of our North Carolina mountains and the southern Appalachians, of course, start to see the color change first because they are higher up. They see the cooler weather. So I'd say there's some high color around the Mount Mitchell area, but still I don't think any of our mountains are at peak yet. Although cool nights, lots of sunshine in the afternoon and dry weather really going to get this color kick started. I would say, you know, I'd say really probably not this weekend, but next weekend you're going to see some really high color in those popular spots. Bloom, Blowing Rock, Grandfather Mountain, Asheville. So really peaking over the next couple weeks. Again, some low color starting to pop up here, lower elevations like foothills, but it's usually late October, early November for us to really see some good color.
I know the mountains usually change over first, but I also noticed that leaves around bodies of water also change first. Is there anything to that?
Well,
or is it just kind of like coincidence that?
Sometimes it's a coincidence, but there's a little scientific, you know, side to it. when you talk about leaves changing, when we talk about, a lot of people ask, is it going to be a good leaf year or, a bad leaf year, or the color's going to be bright? A lot of what we forecast that on is based off what happened in the spring. So if you really want a good fall color season, you really want a good even spring with some rain, but not too much. Yes, you need some warm temperatures, but you don't need it to be super hot. And usually the spring means more for the leaf season than the actual summer does. So I would say, if we can go back and look at the numbers and stuff, but we had a pretty, we had a good spring this year. I would say it wasn't super hot all the time. It wasn't super cool. The spring was pretty good. Summer was about what we would expect here. But so far this fall has gotten off to a pretty good start. It's actually been a little cooler than normal. Rain, we haven't really had a ton of rain. And the other thing, when you get into this time of the year and you talk about leaves, one of the big ifs for us is when you talk about Ian. Thankfully, our mountains didn't get as much rain as we did and didn't get as much wind as we did. Because when you get into this time of the year, if you get a tropical storm that comes by or a big strong system, a lot of times the wind and the heavy rain pull all of those leaves off the trees in the mountains. That, of course, has not been the case this time. So I think that factoring into it, the fact that we've had some rain has been, flooding out, the fact we've had some really chilly nights will really help the fall leaf season, especially in the mountains.
We did lose a lot of leaves here, though, with that
Yeah,
storm,
we did.
especially on Friday. We were on a walk yesterday. My son said, "Mama, leaves fallen," because they were all falling off the trees in our neighborhood. So obviously, I think we could maybe get a little ripped off on some color with regard to the recent storms. But as far as vibrancy, should be decent.
One thing you'll notice, too, most of the leaves that fell over the weekend are still green here. And so they're still really, I guess, pliable if you pull them apart. They're not crunchy or dried up yet. So that also helps too. The leaves that are left on the trees will still probably change pretty well.
Right, but not enough to fall off and rake yet. That usually happens
No.
around Halloween.
Yeah,
Later?
Usually.
Okay.
Usually around Halloween we start to see some raking. And I'll tell you, if you're looking for a good spot in the Piedmont or in the Triad in the Greensboro area, there's a stretch of Elm Street near Cone Boulevard that always has good color. And if you're leaving Greensboro going to Ashboro, there's always a stretch that I see on 220 all the time between Randleman and Ashboro that is always super colorful. And if you hit that right at 5 in the afternoon when the sun hits it, it is absolutely gorgeous.
Is it Elm and Cone because of the lake there?
Could be. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I kind of got off topic there, but go back to your original question
About the bodies of water?
About being close to bodies of water. Yes, the water content and the moisture. There's some science to that. I would say it probably helps some.
Yeah. I just always notice I have no color in my neighborhood, and then I'll go to the lake and I'm like, where's all this color coming from?
Yeah.
This time of the year
It's
too.
kind of interesting.
The leaves start to change on the lake, and you have those cool nights when there's some warm air above. You get a nice little layer of fog on the lake, and then you see the colors. It's absolutely gorgeous.
And then it's Halloween, and you're like, get me off the lake because Jason's coming out somewhere. You're like, forget about it. This was supposed to be romantic, and it's actually freaking me out.
Now it's trick or treat.
Yep.
I think you're onto something because I've seen great color around Country Park when you do that little loop there. Always, I think that's one of the first spots in the Greensboro area to turn, and then okay, we're really getting into it now because it doesn't last very long.
Doesn't last long, but as you get into late October and early November here, a lot of people think you have to get in the car and drive a couple hours, and you don't. If you're patient, we usually have some really good color around here. But of course, me included, I like to get in the car and go to the mountains. And if you're going or maybe planning a trip, maybe a day trip or a couple days to go up and see the leaves, if you're going this weekend, you'll see color. But if you wait till next weekend, it'll be a whole lot better.
Okay.
You'll also be battling crowds next weekend, probably more so.
It's a toss-up, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm patient because I rarely go to the mountains. I just wait for you to bring back pictures.
Wait for it to fall here.
Exactly. All right, so that's a great conversation about fall color. A lot of you guys are talking about not necessarily the color of the leaves, but raking them. That is the issue. A lot of people don't like to do that, and I don't blame you. We did get a note from Melody who said, I have mostly green leaves. They haven't changed over yet. And then Scotland's just added he's going to get some pictures of the leaves on the way home from Highway 220. I guess that's between Ashboro and Guilford County.
Yeah,
right?
Scott's an Ashboro guy. So that stretch, again, it's usually between Randleman, somewhere around Pineview, Spiro Road area that always looks really, really good.
It's just hard to find a place to pull off though and safely get pictures.
Yeah. So ride with somebody and have them take the picture.
Yeah.
Or you use the video, right? And then go back and take a still shot.
Yeah.
That's one of Tanya Rivera's tricks. It works though.
All right, let's get to some morning headlines and then we'll have a final check of that fall forecast. Because of a boil water advisory in Reedsville, the following schools are closed today to students. South End Elementary School, Williamsburg Elementary School, Monroeton Elementary School, Booker T. Washington Learning Center, Reedsville Middle and High Schools. The makeup date is Halloween, October 31st. The city says a contractor busted a water main on Scale Street and caused this problem. The city says workers are in the final stages of repairing it, but need to flush the lines citywide. That means customers might see brown water until noon. Boiling water for 1 minute should kill any dangerous bacteria. The city says it will give another update sometime today.
Hurricane Ian's impact here at home is starting to improve. You can see the impact in this picture from the NCDOT. Highway 12 in Dare County is open and the road nearly clear. There are some trouble spots, pockets of overwash and sand. Crews worked to clear those spots earlier this week. They're also securing the dune lines on Pea Island.
Well, the Greensboro Fire Department released a report on some of the many challenges it has faced this year, including a record number of departures and an expanded coverage area with what they're calling limited resources.
So they say they need more fire stations and firefighters on the east side of the city to meet response times. WFMY News 2's Denise McMillan takes a closer look at the report and what's being done to address the issues.
When anyone within the city of Greensboro faces a crisis, the Greensboro Fire Department wants to reach them in no more than 6 minutes. But now that the city has expanded an additional 1,500 acres, the fire chief says he has to go back to the drawing board to figure out how he'll reach those people in a timely manner. The fire chief is mapping out their full coverage area to get a clear view of where resources are lacking. The orange areas on this map are newly annexed parts of the city. You'll see it's mostly on the east and southeast side. To have firefighters and resources ready to go in all parts of the city, they're making adjustments to the budget to purchase property in areas where fire stations are needed. But in the meantime, they're partnering with the county to meet the need.
We'll be adding a engine company out at Station 50, which is a Guilford County building. We're partnered with Guilford County Emergency Services to actually put a fire truck and 15 firefighters in their building on our fire truck to respond to that area, to respond to newly annexed areas out in East Greensboro.
The fire chief wants to implement this in January, but in order to do so, they need more firefighters. This year, they've had nearly double the departures they typically do. The fire department is accepting applications through October 16th. Bonuses are available to folks who are EMT certified, have a college degree, or are military veterans. The fire chief says staffing is decent right now, but they do need more people. And to further address coverage issues, the fire chief says they are looking at purchasing property on McConnell Road. There's no fire station or coverage in that part of the city.
And of course, taking a look back at the forecast again for today, the cool fall weather continues, but we warm things up. We're about where we should be for this time of the year after running several days below our average high temperature, which right now is 74. So we're pretty close to that today. Up around 80 for your Friday. Cold front on the way Friday night cools us back off. There won't be any rain with the front as it is a moisture-starved front, but it does cool us off in a big way by about 15 degrees by Saturday afternoon. Highs are only in the low 60s for Saturday, around 40 Sunday morning with mid and upper 60s by Sunday afternoon. Temperatures will hold there heading into a new week and still no rain in the 7-day forecast.
Yay. And even though it's going back down to the upper 60s at the beginning of the week, it still doesn't feel like fall yet. It still feels like a warmed up version of fall.
And I think when you start to see those leaves change, you'll be like, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Now it's fall. But this has actually been a pretty interesting start to fall. We haven't come above 80 in several weeks.
Right.
And so running our temperatures in the low and mid 60s like we did most of the week, even 70 yesterday was a bit below average. So we're going to spend 2 days here around average, just above it, and then we cool back down, Average high right now, 74. Temperatures hovering in the upper 60s next week. So we're still a bit below average. And those chilly mornings make a difference too.
Right, that's what I was going to say. It seems like the mornings are exceptionally chilly, more so like a November, even early December.
Yeah.
Get this. I just paid my Duke Energy bill because it's always auto drafts like the first of the month. I went from $230 to $30.
Yeah, mine was cheap too.
I couldn't believe it.
Same with Piedmont Natural Gas, even though gas prices are higher right now. It's just that like sweet spot time of year before.
I don't want it to end. I'm like, $30 energy bills every month? Yeah, go ahead.
It's the time of the year you can open the windows too in the afternoon. And
Yes, and just take, it's not too hot in the house.
Right.
It's not too cold in the house. It's just perfect.
breathe some fresh air.
Yeah.
Unless you're allergic to ragweed, and then that's not a good idea.
That's another story.
Exactly. All right, thanks so much for joining us on After GMS.
We will see you back here tomorrow, and don't forget to check us out on the Good Morning Show at 9 a.m. on our main channel, WFMY News 2. See you later.
See you then.